Hi, I'm Joe Carraro. Is there anybody else out there who has figured out how the Obama administration has hoodwinked us into believing that all that stimulus money was actually going to stimulate the economy? Or believing that our desperate unemployment situation was actually getting better since the, quote, trends were becoming favorable? When they first started talking about the trillion or so dollars that eventually was going to be put into their stimulus plans, citizens across America had visions of businesses sprouting up all over the country, providing all kinds of different employment opportunities to those who lost their jobs. It was going to be a jump start to the economy and take us out of the recession, remember? Well, what happened? Well, the money was used to cover the bills of government like Medicaid and unemployment insurance to the many citizens who lost their jobs. Of course, a lot was also made available to big corporations to make sure they didn't get hurt under the guise that we didn't want them to lay off workers, with the Obama administration taking credit for a new economic measure called Jobs Saved, which essentially spent a lot of money in an attempt to maintain the status quo. But where was the economy actually stimulated in all these cases? Now, there are tens of millions of small businesses that could absorb all the unemployed who want to work if these businesses were included in a stimulus plan. Instead of paying and expanding the billions we are spending on unemployment payments, why don't we give the money to small businesses to hire and train the unemployed and create new jobs? Just think about all the economic stimulation that would occur if many of these small businesses hired just one extra person to increase productivity. Maybe even having the small business kick in a few bucks so that the new employee can make more with a job than they would sitting around maybe waiting for something to happen. And the business could have a new employee for a fraction of what they would usually spend so that it would be cost effective for them to consider expansion of their business and would give them and our country maybe hope for the future. As someone who has worked on Wall Street and analyzed big business, I can tell you that giving them money to prevent layoffs will not have the desired effect of protecting jobs in the future. It is money that is going to inefficient corporations that have proven that they can't survive without government help, as opposed to small businesses whose efficiency is proved by their survival. And also, I'm someone who has owned a small business and would gladly hire someone on unemployment and use that money to train them, enabling my business to expand and increase productivity so that when their unemployment ran out, they would still have a job, and my small business would have an experienced, trained employee that it could afford to continue to employ. As a small businessman that would be receiving, let's say, I don't know, a $300 check from the government to hire a worker, I would certainly be willing to pay another $100 or maybe even $200 a week to get a full-time employee that I could train to help my business grow. Of course, that would mean that those in government would have to actually come up with a plan that would incorporate incentives for small business with responsibility, accountability, and transparency, rather than the easy way of just expanding benefits to keep those unemployed using stimulus money without any associate benefit to stimulating the economy. They could also consider having banks maybe lend the stimulus money they receive to small business at an encouraging enough rate to hire some of these unemployed folks who want to work and become part of expanding small business in America. Obviously, the folks that are representing us in Washington can't figure all this stuff out. But it's offensive to me to have them think that those of us average Joes and Janes can't see through their deception, ineptitude, and thorough lack of innovation. They'd rather spend their time thinking up ways to spin the desperate job situation by claiming they spent billions saving jobs, or even being more ridiculous by announcing success since fewer additional people were filing claims than previously, turning continued failure into a positive sounding, quote, favorable trend. That's all government talk. In the language of the average Joe, it means more people are still losing their jobs, but at a slower rate. If you follow their logic, Eventually, when everyone in the private sector is out of work, unemployed, those government workers who still have a job tracking for the jobless rate or waiting for a miracle can say that the good news is that there's no more additional claims, and they stop the growth of unemployment. To accomplish something so simple without requiring too much innovation on the part of government, a jobs program could just involve the way we distribute unemployment compensation. But stay alert, folks. With these guys in government, I think the worst is yet to come. And thanks for listening to An Average Joe.